Hello, my name is Esteban. I'm gonna talk about IDEO and redesigning the long haul travel experience. So, IDEO is a product design or design company based in California, and they're the guys who kind of like define design thinking and as a method and an approach to designing things, whether it's experience or products. So this is Air New Zealand. Basically, what happens is like Air New Zealand has very long flights. So they have you can travel from Los Angeles all the way to Auckland, all the way to Melbourne, all the way to Sydney. So this means that people spend like uh, a long time inside an airplane. And the thing, like in the case IDEO defines that it's like being cattle, so that they're transporting cattle in the economy class. So they wanted to change that experience for users. Air New Zealand needed to change the way their customer experience traveling with Air New Zealand, to provide a better service and provide an advantage to traveling using Air New Zealand. So they needed to understand how people travel long distances. They needed to improve the service in the experience using design thinking. Um, uh, One of the main problems is it's very uncomfortable to travel long distances, and it's also had a number of medical issues because you need to stand up, move yourself, like all around. So to stay kind of like free, like because of your legs and thrombosis. So they also needed to understand who are they designing, like the company, like New Zealanders, and trying to bring that experience to the users. So we're gonna analyze using the 5 stages of design thinking: empathize, define, uh, ideate, prototype, and test. So in the first step, which is empathize, it's kind of like seeing what is the experience. Uh, like these guys are like here, like mimicking what it is to travel. These guys are sitting there like with their entertainment system and in like these chairs that they kind of made up, and they're testing what it feels to do that. And you can even see like this lady on the left of this photo, kind of like imitating like service. So she's servicing to a customer. So you're trying as a designer, as a person who's going through design thinking, to put yourself in the shoes of the user, to gather as much information as you can and connect with the user to really feel and understand their perspective, because you're designing for them, you're creating a product for them. So after that, they go through this process, and it's like defining, right? So these guys already have like this type of like airplane with chairs, and you see these guys are pretty uncomfortable. For me, it's quite funny. This guy does not look happy, the guy on the white t-shirt. So imagine this is just like a little bit of like experiencing this, and this guy is already like, oh my god. And this is like traveling like 15 hours in a small box. So you start seeing and researching into different ways to travel, like to travel by car, to travel by boat, to travel by train, to travel in a bicycle, to travel in like a subway. So you're trying to see the experience of traveling and the systems we created as humans, the products we created as humans to travel. And also like each product has a different like person, right? It's not the same to ride a sports car than an economy car, right? And it's not the same designing for a guy who's a driver, like, and for a person who's like a dad or mom with their little kids in the back. So this type of like of part, like this part is kind of like defining what it means to travel, defining the problem, defining the kind of like going into research and seeing what this is all about. And these guys are kind of like seen there in the photos, and then they go through this stage, right? So this is kind of like brainstorming, like ideas. You kind of like putting everything. You see like all the sticky notes in there. They having like this kind of like made up like seat in there, and like he has like this kind of like entertainment system, and he's trying to see what it like what they can do. It's very rough. It's about communicating, and it's about kind of like seeing what designing this type of product is all about. So we can see here like this is like a type of like traveling by train, right? So you're like facing the other users, like the other passengers, and you're kind of like sitting there, and you're seeing them face to face. And this is like common in like trains in Europe. You can also see this sleeping car. Um, and you can see like all these beds in there. They kind of fall from the top, and you see like luggage in there, and you see luggage on the top, and you see the window. So this is another different way, like a different way to travel, and this is long distance travel. So you see this type like of users, which is like different price points and ways to travel. And then after that, after all the research, they kind of went into like, well, what can we do? So they start creating this prototype, right? And this is also like super funny. One of my favorite photos. They're like these guys in a small, very small space, and we also need to understand their constraints. So in here, it's like the space is a constraint, absolutely. So there's not a lot of space in like two rows, and you see these guys crossing the legs. I bet that's not comfortable at all. So you see this four like drawing dolls in there, and you see like this part of on the back seat where maybe it reclines and makes a bed, but maybe it doesn't. Maybe it's just like one side, like you see, can recline and the other it can't. So we start seeing like prototypes of like of like the product, a product you could create. And this is where they did it. It's like a whole like Air New Zealand has like this type of like lab which is called Hangar 9, and they basically created like the whole inside of an airplane, like full on, to see, like to create and see the experience of traveling by airplane. And we can see here like a little bit of like testing the prototypes, but not fully. So we see like this, like if we go like to a dining car, and we see this family kind of like sharing a dinner, or maybe they're not family, maybe they're strangers, and they're having a conversation. So part of like their approach was to also see the human experience behind it, right? So we communicate, we kind of form bonds with other people, and they did this type of design, which I think is pretty cool. This is what you have normally in a train, like all kind of trains, so you can have dinner in there. And then we see like this type of like prototype, which they did before, and you see how they use it. So if we go back, we see these guys here, completely straight up, crossing their legs. Maybe this is how the final user uses it. Like this guy like uh, knows this person, like Perry's like girlfriend, or and she's crossing their legs, like her legs on top, being comfortable, and this other guy, like this woman, is like basically passed out, and like she's stretched like this and trying to like sleep in there, and this guy's like this. So we see how people use actually like the product, how they kind of like move around it, and how they use it. And maybe this is not it, but now we see like the testing, right? Like the testing of the prototype. So what about the final part? Well, after all of this, they did create a product. I'm going to go a little bit fast because of time. So this is the final product. So it's I think it's called Sky Couch. So they basically redesigned the seat, so it becomes a bed, and you can book that bed and you can sleep in there. and they provide you with like a pillow and stuff. And you can also see like the armrest like going up. So all of them are up, which before it could be like something for like privacy and respecting the other passenger. Now it's fully up, and it makes a bed, which is something that a lot of companies might forbid. And this guy's kind of like going like, well, it's not functional. Like this type of design is not good. So they made it into something else, which is I think is quite cool. They also changed what I believe this is like business class. So they kind of like open it up, and you can now like have a little bit more space and like stretch out. And then this is business premier, right? So this is like a sleeping like pod, kind of. So we are gonna see some other stuff. Like this is a view from above, and you can see like this is the center of the hole, and they're back to back, and you can see like this thing reclines, and that little part in there, like it's for like putting your legs, and you have the entertainment system to your left. And we can see this is the final product, and we're gonna see more into that, like what it like the product is not always like it changes, right? And it's not always the best. So in this sense, I would say that why would you put the bed on the left? Maybe because the person kind of sleeps sideways and you could see it like that. But seeing in a different perspective, and we're gonna see it, it's like maybe it's not that comfortable. So the other part in here, we see like users complaining. This is further testing. So users are complaining there's like lack of privacy in these seats. So if we see like this is the side of the window, and the person in here, the final user, kind of like sleeps, and you put the pillow in like the back, and this person is like, if we see the other slide where they're imitating the experience of like, you know, the service industry of like providing a service to the user. She's like making the bed of this person who recorded on YouTube, and it's easy to kind of like provide a service to the person quite fast because it's very accessible, and they make a very good use of space. But the final user complains there's lack of privacy, and we see that if you're paying such high price, maybe you should have privacy. So we see like what happened at the end, right? And there's also a part where they mentioned that they had like these beds like similar to um, this one, right? And they say it wasn't that dignified because, you know, like maybe like when the person in the video was going down, their like smelly feet were in the face of the other person. So he was like, oh, it's not that dignified. But yet again, like you have to understand you're traveling in an airplane, and you might not have like a full room in there, you know. So we see this part of like the testing, and that's when the product, like which is fully launched, comes into like full on test by the users and feedback. So the feedback is that it's not that good in terms of privacy, even. And he also says it's quite short. I would also say like, well, if it's not dignified for the smelly feet, or, you know, well, it's not that dignified in here either because your feet are going to the hallway where everybody goes, like, you know, past. So we see that this guy's redesigned the space like this. And this is another airline. This is how they designed their space. And you see this privacy wall a bit more extended. The computers and entertainment system is on the front, which is more comfortable because that's how we usually see TV in the couch. So you have the tray on the right. You know, there are different ways to do this. And even like, for example, if in here you kind of like you know, lose space because you're fitting less pots, maybe the experience is higher. So that's a trade-off. And in here, that's their product for like 2024. So they are redesigning this product like that. And then these pots, which were on the prototypes, they're kind of like probably launching that year. So the test and final thoughts. Well, we can also see that in design thinking, perhaps we need to leave a room for in testing for iteration. So iteration is quite important because it allows you to um, refine a product, right? And that's what you kind of want. You kind of want to arrive to this product that lasts a long time. And finally, based on product design, this guy is called Dieter Rams, which we can see like his 10 design principle. So good design is innovative, it's useful, aesthetic, understandable, unobtrusive, honest, long lasting, thorough to the last detail, environmentally friendly, and a good design is a little design as possible. So here I would say that it is innovative, it is useful, it looks good, it's easy to understand, it's quite obtrusive. So it's not that easy, like, because you don't feel comfortable in the final design of this one and of one of the three seats they redesigned. It is honest. You can perceive it as like a product that you're paying a good amount for and you're getting your money back. And in here it fails. It's not long lasting because one of those three products was changed. So based on like saving money and fuel, it wasn't the best thing. And we don't know what happened between the two companies, like, because they must have approved a final design and this is what they did, but they had to iterate because at the end of the day it's not all about money and saving fuel. So the other thing is like, is it thorough to the last detail? Well, it wasn't that private and it wasn't that comfortable. So if you're paying a premium for that, then it wasn't that. And you can understand that the user who pays this is not that happy. And then the other one we cannot know. And good design is as little design as possible. Well, in here we can say that this has been pretty much done. So in terms of that, they just added a few things, but they kind of changed the configuration of a seat. And at the end of the day, this is the seat that they kept, this one, which I think is an amazing product. And this is worth it, all the money you can spend, because it changed the travel industry. So I would say it was quite successful. I would say like one of the most difficult things is like to design a perfect product. That does not exist. There are many products that are amazing and that have lasted for a long, long time, like cars and buildings, which is well, it's not a product, but it's part of design. It's a long-lasting design, which is like amazing. And if we see it, I think this company like did a great job. And Air New Zealand did win a lot of things because it won this product, it based on their money, and they did help the company make the long-haul travel experience better. So much that is quite reviewed on YouTube. It's a well-loved product, and it's probably gonna last for a long time. It's probably gonna be used in the future once the prototype, like once it's available for other companies to reproduce. Probably this product is gonna be like that for a long time. And that is all for my presentation on how they redesigned the long-haul travel experience. Thank you.